Hey everybody, welcome to Bura. In this episode, I'm going to be reviewing teachingguide.com. Alright, when we're back for this video, make sure you like, subscribe. The more subscribers to get, the more content we can make. Number one reason why you subscribe to this amazing YouTube channel is to get in the money-making trends before they go mainstream. So, if you liked my Udemy video yesterday, again, I'm going to be doing a ton of videos on Udemy and e-learning, just because it is something that a lot of people do their side hustle in, and I haven't really talked about it on Bura Tech, but I'm going to talk about it now. And one of the major things that I really liked about teachingguide.com, which is what I'm about to review here, the best thing that I like about this is that it is giving a lot of insight as to what you should be doing in the industry. So, in some industries, there isn't as much detail in analytics. And one thing about the App Store when it came out, compared to a lot of other industries, is that it did have quite a bit of more analytics. You could figure out which apps were trending, which apps, how much money they made within relative precision. And you could figure out, basically what you should do. So, if we would just hop back to maybe 2010 for a moment here, anything with a bird in it did well. And if it was casual on the iPhone. And that was something that did really well for obvious reasons. And Teaching Guide is a way to look at Udemy's sales and what instructors are making for the most part with the limited data that they have. Now, this is kind of like App Annie for the e-learning space, or specifically for Udemy, because it's basically the only marketplace right now. And again, that's one thing I talk about a lot when it comes to the Udemy, the whole investors. If you want to invest in Udemy, that's great. But at some point in time, there's going to be a competitor. I don't know where it's going to come out of, but there will be a competitor, and that competitor could make some serious inroads in the e-learning industry. And again, there's so much to talk about because there's basically a decade worth of information that I need to put out there. So there's going to be hours and hours of these videos. And I definitely want you to like and subscribe to get all those things. And if you're an institution and need help, if you want to invest in Udemy, again, I have my link to the contact information down below, and then we can connect there. Okay. So Teaching Guide. Basically, the whole thing about Teaching Guide is it gives you data if you're an instructor, and this is really good because if this data wasn't here, people wouldn't start their career in e-learning, which is a big thing about the e-learning industry as a whole. There are people, like if you want to go into a field, right? You want to go into the field that has the most, that's interesting, that has the most upside, and that has a lot of flexibility. Like if you want to go into a field and that's what you want, right? And so if you want to work for like a FANG company, then, well, that's what you want to do because, again, you get paid really well. And even though you work quite hard in some cases, it's still a very, very good career. And the thing is that e-learning is not like that. E-learning doesn't take the top tier or the second tier people. It's people that have been kind of left over. Now, for me personally, I have a very specific skill set, which I'll be talking about in many of these videos, as to why I do what I do here. And so Teaching Guide is a really good thing. And if Udemy ever shuts Teaching Guide down as an investor, then you need to watch out. Because if people can't get the data, if they can't get the data, then they won't start a career in it. And you won't have longevity. Because e-learning's here to stay. And someone else will basically eat your lunch. Some other company will eat Udemy's lunch if they don't do this, right? So let's take a look at Teaching Guide here. And I've been using it for a while. In fact, the owner did reach out to me a long, long time ago. And I really like it. So the short answer of this review is that it's really good. And so what you can do is you can look at your courses, your reviews, your keywords, and your coupons. Like there's a whole bunch of things here, but the real value in it is the research here. And I'm going to be talking about that in a second here, but it has an advisor section, which probably needs a little bit of improvement. So this is saying what we are good at, knowledgeable, and this is something that I think we do really well. Support, this is something I think we don't do well. Teaching style, I would say that's maybe a little bit above average. And the speech, It's saying that we have a lot of accents, but you know what? Most of the people that work for me don't have an accent. Some people do, but most of them don't. So this here needs a little bit of work. So I wouldn't necessarily look at that here. But the other thing here, it doesn't look like I have set that up here, but nevertheless, there is an optimization here, and then it says that there's keywords here. This was working off screen. I'm not sure why, but okay, it doesn't matter here. But the advisor section, I guess, needs a little bit of work on the site. But what I'm really here to talk about is the research here. And if there's any reason that you should subscribe to Teaching Guide, is to take a look at the research, okay? Because first of all, let's take a look at the course database. Now, again, it will tell you roughly what the course makes. And there is so many things to unpack here. I can make a huge video about pretty much this whole process here. Now, there is quite a bit of data here, and I think it does come up with the top earners here. You can always take a look at the reviews, the amount of students, the badge, whether it's in UFB or for not, if it is in UFB or not. And I'm just going to update that to the 100 page here, which I really like, by the way, because there are quite a bit of courses on Udemy. Okay, so first of all, you'll see that like this is the top course of the of basically the of the month here. I believe this rotates on a monthly basis here. And if you look at this, it says estimate how much US dollar the course is earning as an instructor share of UFB. Now, I don't know if this is directly paid to the instructor or if it's what the gross is. Now, I think when I first started, it was the gross amount, and now this might be what they paid. I'm not quite sure on that, but nevertheless, there's a lot to unpack here. First of all, the data on this site is accurate, but it's not extremely precise, meaning that there's a few data points for some instructors that post that do post their earnings, and that's similar, and probably that's entered into the system to make it more accurate. But my income here isn't really that accurate here. But you can see here that, you know, out of the first 100, the top is making $75,000 a month. I don't know if that's gross or net. If it's gross, then you can divide that roughly by 2, and that's what the instructor would get. And if it's net, then you can multiply it by 2, and that's kind of what it is. So you're basically looking anywhere between kind of like, you know, 35, 40,000 to 75,000 for the instructor, which is not necessarily bad. But remember, that's the top course, okay? I'm going to be talking a lot about that, but we can go all the way down here and you can start to see that the 100th course makes about this much, okay? So we're not talking about, you know, and you can see some of these other ones, they don't here. Now, the other thing that's interesting about this is that you can give away free coupons as your Udemy. You can give away free coupons, and that kind of distorts some of these values here. Because if I give away, let's say, 40,000 free coupons, and that's counted as sales, well, we don't really know if that's actually correct. But the site does a pretty good job of it. But having said that, there are some, like, for example, my income's not really that accurate. I've been tracking it for months, and it's like it's usually lower than what I make on Udemy, but that's fine. But nevertheless, you know, you can see that some of these, you know, go down here, and they'll say like, you know, by the 100th course, there are thousands and thousands of courses here. The instructor's making 75. Now, if you divide that by 2, that's only 3,500 a month. Now, one thing about Udemy, when they first started, a lot of instructors liked the passive income, and they really shut that down as like immediately. And to be fair, that was probably the right move, even though I was making some passive income at the time. And like in 2012, there was like, I took like 2 weeks off, made so much money in those 2 weeks, and then they shut that down. And obviously you can't have complete passive income the way you do on the App Store here, which again, maybe another marketplace might make passive income more of a thing, in which case it will attract more talent. And again, like and subscribe to this video, because this video, like, I'm going to be giving away so much information about the e-learning industry as a whole, and specifically Udemy, because they are IPOing, which is just like the best news I've heard all year, right? So anyway, nevertheless, we have this $75,000 top, and let's just say it's what the instructor gets. But you can take a look at kind of what, you know, at kind of what they are, making here. So, this is Excel, this is code and Python, and you'll notice that there's Python, AWS, web development. So a lot of the courses that do really well in Udemy are technical courses, and that's what we produce as well. You got web development, Java, AWS, Excel. And the reason for this is that when a new version of Excel comes out or a new version of Python comes out, you have to update your skills, and you take a course, and the course is maybe 10 or 20 bucks, and that's awesome. And that's one thing that I really like about Udemy. The $10 to $20 course is really good. And I'm going to be talking about the pricing because I'm going to make like 5 videos about pricing because there's a long history of pricing in Udemy. So again, just, I hope you want to come for this ride because there's so much information I'm going to be giving you, okay? So we have, $75,000 here. Now, there's a couple things that we can do. So for example, the topics here, you can see what the trend is, okay? So, web development has been going down, but you can also see the conversion and then the search volume, and the amount of sales. Python has gone up and then down, and then this, you can kind of see where it is. And so let's see if this one's just kind of just gone up here. So data science, that's one that kind of sells well. Actually, let's see if we can move this to the 101 here. And so SQL, that's kind of an interesting one. It kind of makes sense, but you can see that it's trending down. What's this? Microsoft Power BI. And then this is, so if you're into making courses, you definitely want to look at this. So if you're an instructor and you are let's say a C++ developer, well, maybe try and find a way to make C++ and ethical hacking, or C++ and, data science or something like that. That will raise your, by melding those two ideas together, you'll probably make a bit more money because that's what we do here. All right, so the other thing is the instructors. Now, this is what the instructors are reportedly making. Now, again, I don't necessarily know if this is what they're getting or if it's the gross amount of sales, okay? Because if this is what they're getting, that is pretty good. Now, remember, this is the top person on Udemy that's going to be doing this. It's the top person. So 300 grand per month, multiply that by 12, and you got, $33.6 million. And that's not bad. But one thing I like to say about Udemy is, what is the top company on Steam make? Is it this, or is it more? What does the top person on the App Store make? Or the top company? Is it this or more? Well, in the App Store, it's like $1 billion companies are in the top 10, right? And this goes to my whole thing about the marketplace not being scalable, and I'm going to be talking about that in another video. But nevertheless, let's say, so either the top person is making, this much gross, or, they might get that. Now, this is not anything to shy away from. Obviously, if I had a solo business that made this every single year, that'd be awesome, right? But, it's one person. And by the way, if you look at all the single instructors here, all right? So we got single instructor, that's not really a thing. Single instructor. Now this is a company, right? Making $100,000 a month, which, is not necessarily that good for a company. Because paradoxically, $100,000 a month is both a lot of money and not a lot of money when you're working on when you have a company, right? So if it's $50,000, that's even worse, right? So I think this one is also one. So we got 1, 2, and I don't think any of these are in the United States. Okay, I don't know if this one's here, but anyway, single instructor. I think this is one of the people here, because sometimes you have for example, Code Stars. No, Video School here is Phil Ebner's company, and so that would get put up in here. So there's some duplicates in here, but nevertheless, let's take a look at all the way down to the 100 here, and then you're getting into $10,000, and whether that's you divide that by 2, or it should be more. Ask yourself, if you were to take the top 100 apps that make money, what would the 100th app make in the App Store? What would the 100th app make in Steam? And if it's more than this, then you might think, yeah, it's probably that's probably an issue. Okay, so this is something that is, well, it's something that you as the Udemy investor have to deal with, right? You have to deal with it because you want to see upside, right? You want to see a lot of upside on your investment, and if, let's put it this way, if this was 10 times the amount or 100 times the amount, would you make more money? Would you make more money? And I think you would. Okay. And then you have the keywords here, going back to teaching guide. You can take a look at some of what the keywords is for like the Udemy SEO. And I'm going to be doing a whole video about Udemy SEO or lack thereof because, well, just stay tuned. I'm going to do a whole video about it. All right. And then there's a bunch of settings here. So that pretty much wraps up what is what you're into here. So you got the course database. It's basically the research tab, which is the most valuable part of teaching guide, which is well worth the money in my opinion. Okay, so a couple other things on teaching guide. You have some, if you're just starting out, you can just take a look at how to set up your account here, and there's some good information. And then you can say, there's some estimated sales per month. What happens if I type in Python, right? I can just search for this here. And they say, about that per month, right? And then, about that many per month, excluding promotions, whether you multiply that by 2 or divide it by 2, it's up to you, right? You have the instructor here. So this is kind of like a free taster here if you want. It's not very expensive, by the way. So highly recommend it, if I can't say this here. Now, the other thing is you can also post your coupons here. I get a lot of traffic to my Udemy course by posting the coupons here, so please do that. And then lastly, you have a 10-step guide, and there's also a blog too, and there's some really good information on the blog. Where was it? Yes, so this one was a really good blog post, if I remember correctly. Yeah, Udemy instructor survey. Yeah, okay, so this one here, it basically tells you, like, this is incredibly, so development and IT make up, well, we'll call that like 40%, and then business, design, and then photography, so lifestyle and music, which I was actually quite surprised with on how much music makes, which it kind of makes sense because in the e-learning industries, there's some sites out there that make nothing but music, and they actually do really well. And so you can also see more of a breakdown. You can see that we got Python, machine learning, and web development. That's roughly 15, maybe 20% of the sales. And then if you do this here, it's like a third. Again, mostly technical stuff, because the technical stuff is the hardest to do because it's the least amount of supply of people that actually want to do them, right? Which is why I have a business altogether, all right? So that pretty much wraps up my review. And so I want to know your thoughts and teaching guides down below. Please take a look at it. And remember, I'm going to be doing lots and lots of videos about Udemy. And since it's IPOing, it's like my favorite thing that's going to happen in the next little while. Because, again, there's going to be a bunch of free market logic that's going to be posted to Udemy and the IPO. And what I'm really hoping the Udemy IPO is for just a bunch of the early investors to just get out. And so I really hope that that's not the case, but it could be. So you never know. I think the IPO is set to be about $27, $29. It could, what if it tanks 50% in a day? Well, not a day, but like, in a month or whatever. I invested in Coinbase on day 1 or 2, and then I just recently waited for a long time. So you never know with these IPOs. You never know what the market thinks. But nevertheless, I'm extremely excited that Udemy is IPOing. If you are interested in investing, again, and you want some consultations, I do have the contact down below. So the contact, we can just basically follow the links there and we'll get in touch and we can connect. All right, that concludes this video, and I'll see you in another video.